The Tyger. Tyger, Tyger, burning bright in the forests of the night, what immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? In what distant deeps or skies burnt the fire of thine eyes? On what wings dare he aspire? What the hand dare seize the fire? And what shoulder and what art could twist the sinews of thy heart? And when thy heart began to beat, what dread hand and what dread feet? What the hammer, what the chain? In what furnace was thy brain? What the anvil, what dread grasp dare its deadly terrors clasp? When the stars threw down their spears and watered heaven with their tears, did he smile his work to see? Did he who made the Lamb make thee? Tyger, Tyger, burning bright in the forests of the night, what immortal hand or eye dare frame thy fearful symmetry? William Blake, 1794. I did a post last week about poetry and whether poetry was a dying art form. I got a lot of feedback about that, and I personally do not want to see poetry die out, and that means read it, talk about it, share it. And this poem in particular is very important to me because Songs of Innocence, Songs of Experience by William Blake, that was my first exposure to poetry in school. This poem comes from 1794. So the time William Blake, I've got my notes. The Tyger is a passionate, fiery force in this poem who lives in the shadows. The Tyger and the Lamb, they're two poems that are connected because a big part of this poem is talking about how God has created the Lamb, which is pure, good, innocent. He has also created the Tyger, which is dark. And some people say that the Tyger is the dark part of the human soul. And I think we all have that dark part in us. It depends on what we choose to do with it, but it's there. So this is about good and evil. The time that he wrote this, the church was very, very strong. And I do think there is a big religious part of this poem. William Blake lived from 1757 to 1824. He was a poet, painter and engraver. And if you ever find a copy of Songs of Innocence, Songs of Experience, there are engravings in that. And a lot of people do engravings of the Tyger. The interesting thing with Blake was he had no formal schooling. Now these days he's considered a great poet and he had no formal schooling. But in 1780, Blake was always interested in revolution. But in 1780, there was a lot of anti-Catholic feeling in England, and there was a lot of disturbance in the land. And Blake found himself in front of a mob that burnt Newgate Prison. Now this experience affected him deeply. So it's interesting because he thought poetry should both delight and instruct. And back then, the written word, of course, is all they had. No social media back then. It was just the written word. And I just thought it was a good one to start with. And good poetry, like good writing, like a good film, makes you think about it afterwards. Now, this is what I have got out of this poem. I don't know if any of you have read it. What do you think? Do you think those themes are there? This is a very studied poem. And as I said, I did it in English Lit. I think it is still part of English Lit classes. I did it for my VCE. So, interesting. It's an interesting poem. As I said, a very old poem. But do you see that? Do you see the tiger as a representation of this dark force that's in us? And even today, there's this ongoing struggle of good versus evil. Because the other thing is too, I think he's querying, how can you create something good but then create something evil? Because I don't believe anyone is wholly good, nor do I believe anyone is wholly bad and evil. I've said, we humans, we're complicated beings, and no one's perfect. But this is, I just think it is a rhyming poem. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stanzas. First and last stanza, the first 2 lines are repeated, and that repetition could be in there to reinforce his ideas. So, yeah, interesting. Interesting poem. If any of you are interested in poems, the Poet Organisation is a very good place to get any information about poems. They are based in Chicago, and I'm very thankful that they have a website because it's got a lot of information on there. So yeah, that's the first poem. And as I said, if poetry is to survive, we have to talk about it. And that is what I'm doing. Okay, enjoy your day, and I will be back on Friday. Bye.